Welcome everyone, and tonight's presentation, which is the third of this year's BCVA free webinars, is on the Welsh Dairy Youngstock project. And the Welsh Dairy Youngstock project was conducted this year, and it was all about looking for the success factors for heifer rearing. It was a project that was conducted between April and June, and it involved surveying the current practices and performance of various farms throughout Wales. There were 75 farms that participated in total, and the survey was conducted by the farm's own practices, vet practices. So 20 vet practices were involved, and this map that you should have on your screen shows where those farms were spread out throughout the country. It involved a detailed questionnaire which was asking about various management practices, etc., feeding rates, but also a lot of measuring of calves at different ages, collection of blood samples of 0 to 7 day or 1 to 7 day old calves for calf IgG levels, serum IgG levels, but it was also looking at records for performance of the heifers once they'd calved into the herd, and samples taken for scour, but if no scouring calves were present, then just feces for laboratory analysis. Just looking at the farms that were involved in the project, like I say, there were 75 in total. Because of the time of the year of the project, it was skewed away from those block calving autumn and spring calving herds. So the majority of the herds were actually all year round calving, predominantly Holstein, and mainly housed in the winter and out grazing in the summer. Some were housed all year round, and because of that type of farm, the herd size was probably larger than average as well. The mean actual herd size was 310 cows, and you can see there the mean yields was slightly above the national average at 8,300. Now, we've got a few poll questions for you tonight, and here's the first one. This is something we'd like you to answer, please. How do you personally rate your own input to your clients' heifer rearing enterprises? And your choices are 1 to 5, 1 very unsatisfactory, through to 5 very satisfactory.
Good evening everybody, it's Bruce here from the webinar vet. Very simple to run the polls tonight. Just click on the little radial button next to the answer which best represents your vote. The votes are completely anonymous, so don't feel embarrassed. Just whatever honest results, please just click on the button. They will come through to me. I will close the poll shortly and reveal those answers. It will not reveal your personal answer, it's just a poll percentage. So go ahead, don't be shy, click on the radial button and just tell us exactly how you feel. It's great feedback to Owen and his crew who are doing a fabulous job, and it just lets us know the feeling of the people who are on and will allow you, the participants, to get the most benefit out of it. So I'm going to give you another 5 seconds just to vote. Just click on the radial button. We've just about got everybody in voting. Right, so let's close that poll quickly and let's share that with everybody. Owen, unfortunately, you can't see that, but basically what we've got is 5% of the attendees have answered very unsatisfactory. 41% have said unsatisfactory, 41% also have said okay, 13% has said good, and nobody has said very satisfactory. I'm going to just return the screen to you.
We asked a very similar question to the farmers, and that was, how do you rate your heifer rearing performance? And this was their replies. So compared with the vet replies, which was to a different question admittedly, which was looking at how you rated your performance of your involvement with heifer rearing on your clients' farms, the farmers do appear very satisfied or fairly satisfied with their own heifer rearing performance. You can see that the graph is skewed very much towards the right there, with quite a high proportion being very satisfied, but most farmers being quite satisfied or okay or good. In addition, we asked farmers to rank the main health issues 1 to 5, and the health issues we asked them to rank were fertility, lameness, mastitis, infectious disease, and young stock health. And you can see from the results on the table that comes up on your screen now that young stock health was ranked last out of those 5 important herd diseases. So it seems that not only do farmers appear quite satisfied with their heifer performance, but they also don't seem to prioritise young stock health compared with other health issues on their farm. And yet, how should we rate our heifer rearing performance or our farmers' heifer rearing performance? Well, when we look at some of the data that exists already, well, we know that 14.5% of live-born dairy heifer calves die or are culled before their first calving. We also know that the average age of first calving in the UK is 28.8 months, when the target is 24 months. And we know from this survey that we did in Wales that 20% of all heifer calves are treated at least once for pneumonia, and 23% of all heifer calves are treated at least once for scour. So having found the farmers are quite satisfied, is that really should they really be? Because all of those figures, the number of losses from calving to birth, the pneumonia rate, the scour rate, and the late age at first calving, they all add significant cost to the bottom line, and it's the producer only that picks up those costs in the dairy supply chain. Just looking a little bit at the costs of heifer rearing. Again, this is drawing from work that's been recently done by Alana Bolton and funded by AHDB Dairy. She estimated that the average cost of producing a dairy replacement was £1,800, although there is a large range in this. And that equates to about 6 pence per litre if we assume a 25% replacement rate and it is only second, in fact, to feed costs when we're looking at the total cost of production of milk. So we also know from the same study that any additional day over 24 months onto the age of first calving is likely to cost in the region of £2.87. And we know from previous work also that a cost of a pneumonia case is in the region of £43, and that probably that does exclude the reduced milk yield later on in life, and a cost of scour is £65 per case. And we also know that the cost of mortality is, when it's divided out by all surviving heifers, equates to £140 per head. So just looking at the additional days to calving, the pneumonia and scour instances that we have, they're likely to be costing producers around about 1.3 pence per litre, which is a significant price, and it also represents a significant opportunity for vets and other advisors to try and help farmers improve performance and recoup some of those costs. Now, there were several aspects that, or several findings that were as a result of this project, which have been written up, and I'll give you the details of where you can find those in full at the end of the webinar. But we'll start off with colostrum management. Just a little bit of revision on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see that calves, they're born with no circulating antibodies, and the target is to achieve at least 10 grams per litre of IgG in the calf's blood, and that will only occur through good colostrum antibody transfer. And that colostral passive transfer is dependent on 3 things. It's dependent on the volume of the colostrum that the calf receives, it's dependent on the quality, in other words the IgG concentration of that colostrum, and thirdly, it's dependent on the efficiency